You shouldn't have never said it.
Well, you shouldn't hurt my feelings.
She is toxic. And you're her girlfriend. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, my God.
How's the family?
Falling apart.
Girl.
Amy's done blocked me. I haven't heard from Amy since our text fight. She's blocked me on everything. This is the first time Amy's ever blocked me. But she's not hurting nobody but herself.
I was gonna have Tammy at my cake testing, but she don't want nothing to do with me, so her. Like, I'm done trying. I threw out all my olive branches. I ain't got no more.
On 1,000 Pound Sister, a family feud turns devastating as Tammy and Amy's bond reaches a breaking point. In the heat of a tearful fight, Amy makes a chilling statement, saying she'll mention that my sister died, leaving Tammy stunned and fans heartbroken. This isn't just drama. It's a sister relationship on the edge of collapse. Tuesday night's episode of 1,000 Pound Sister Season 8. Episode 4 didn't just show tension. It showed a family fracture that fans never believed would go this far. What started as a small disagreement exploded into one of the most heartbreaking sister fights the show has ever aired, leaving viewers stunned, emotional, and asking the same question. Is this the end of Tammy and Amy as sisters? For years, 1,000 Pound Sister has centered around Tammy and Amy's bond. They fought together, struggled together, survived criticism together, and built a fan base that believed their connection was unbreakable. Even when they argued in past seasons, there was always an understanding that blood, history, and shared hardship would pull them back together. But this time felt different. This time, it didn't look like just another argument for TV. It looked real, raw, and deeply personal. The tension had clearly been building long before the cameras captured this moment. Amy has been under visible emotional pressure this season, juggling motherhood, legal stress, personal changes, and the constant weight of public judgment. Meanwhile, Tammy has stepped into a new phase of independence and confidence after her transformation journey. Instead of bringing them closer, their new realities seem to have pushed them onto completely different paths, with different priorities, different emotional needs, and different expectations of each other. The confrontation began during what was supposed to be a simple family conversation, but it quickly turned into something much heavier. Amy appeared overwhelmed and defensive, while Tammy looked frustrated and emotionally shut down. Their voices rose, old wounds resurfaced, and unresolved feelings poured out in a way that felt less like a disagreement and more like years of built-up hurt finally spilling over. Amy accused Tammy of changing and becoming distant, suggesting that Tammy no longer shows the same emotional support she once did. Tammy, on the other hand, pushed back, implying she has carried emotional weight for years and is now trying to protect her own peace. The clash wasn't just about one issue. It was about growth that didn't happen at the same speed, pain that was never fully healed, and expectations that were never clearly spoken. Then came the moment that left fans in absolute shock. Amy revealed that she had blocked Tammy on social media. In today's world, that's more than just pressing a button. It's a statement. It's a boundary. It's emotional distance made digital and public. Tammy looked stunned, hurt, and angry all at once. The idea that their communication had broken down so badly that Amy chose to cut off that line of connection showed just how deep the rift had become. But Amy didn't stop there. Through tears and visible anger, she said words no one ever expected to hear on 1,000 Pound Sister. I have no sister. My sister is dead to me now. The room went silent. The weight of that sentence landed hard, not just for Tammy, but for everyone watching. It wasn't said calmly. It wasn't calculated. It was said from a place of emotional overload. And that's exactly why it hurt so much to witness. This wasn't reality TV shade. This was pain talking. Tammy's reaction said everything. Her expression shifted from anger to disbelief to deep hurt. For someone who has spent years relying on Amy as her closest ally, hearing those words was like watching the foundation of her world crack. Tammy tried to maintain composure, but it was clear the comment hit deeper than she expected. This wasn't about social media anymore. This was about identity, family, and the fear of being emotionally abandoned. What makes this even more devastating is their history. These sisters have faced poverty, health scares, public ridicule, and personal loss together. They have leaned on each other in hospital rooms, at doctors' offices, during breakdowns, and through life changes that most people could never imagine handling on camera. Their bond wasn't just sisterhood, it was survival partnership. That's why this fight feels less like drama and more like a turning point. Family members present looked uncomfortable and unsure how to step in. You could see it in their faces. This wasn't playful bickering. This was the kind of fight that can change relationships permanently if pride and hurt are allowed to sit too long. Fans immediately took to social media after the episode aired, divided in their reactions. Some sided with Amy, saying she's overwhelmed and finally setting boundaries. Others defended Tammy, arguing that growth sometimes means distancing yourself from chaos, not abandoning love. But almost everyone agreed on one thing: watching the breakdown of the sister bond was painful. There's also the emotional reality that both women are in completely different life phases now. Amy is navigating motherhood and emotional exhaustion, while Tammy is experiencing independence in a way she's never had before. Sometimes growth doesn't sync, and when two people evolve at different speeds, even love can feel strained. That doesn't mean the bond isn't real. It means it's being tested in ways neither of them may be equipped to handle right now. Blocking each other online might seem small, but it symbolizes something bigger. Communication has collapsed. When conversations stop, assumptions grow. Hurt festers. Pride hardens. And suddenly, the person who once felt like your safest place starts to feel like your biggest emotional trigger. Still, longtime viewers know one truth about 1,000-Pound Sister. Tammy and Amy's relationship has survived storms before, but this is the first time the words spoken felt so final, so heavy, so personal, that fans genuinely fear the damage might not fade quickly. The biggest question now isn't who was right or wrong. It's whether either of them will be willing to step back, cool down, and remember the history they share beyond this moment. Because once words like "dead to me" are said, even if spoken in pain, they echo, they linger, they change the emotional air between people. Season 8. Episode the 4th of May go down as one of the most emotional episodes in 1,000-Pound Sister history. Not because of weight loss milestones or health updates, but because it showed something even more fragile than physical health: family connection under pressure. Whether this is a temporary fracture or a permanent break remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. Tuesday night, viewers didn't just watch reality TV drama. They watched two sisters who once fought the world together suddenly find themselves on opposite sides of a heartbreaking divide. And fans everywhere are hoping this isn't the last chapter of Tammy and Amy's story as sisters. If episode 4 of 1,000-Pound Sister cracked the foundation, the aftermath is what truly showed how deep the damage runs. Because fights are loud in the moment, but the silence that follows is what really tells the story. After Amy's explosive "my sister is dead to me" comment, the emotional air didn't just clear, it froze. The kind of silence that doesn't mean the storm is over. It means everyone is bracing for what breaks next. Tammy withdrew almost immediately. Viewers could see the emotional wall go up in real time. The woman who once fought for Amy's approval, who leaned on her during her darkest health battles, suddenly looked like someone realizing she might have to walk alone now. Her body language shifted. Arms crossed, eye contact gone, voice low and controlled. That wasn't anger anymore. That was hurt turning into protection. And that's when the real divide became clear. Amy was speaking from emotional overload. Exhaustion, stress, and feeling unsupported. Tammy, meanwhile, was speaking from emotional survival. Finally learning to put herself first after years of dependence. Neither one felt heard. Both felt abandoned. And that's why the conversation never had a chance to land safely. Family members tried to soften the moment, but the damage was already done. You can't joke away words like that. You can't pretend they didn't land. Even the room felt smaller, like everyone suddenly realized they were witnessing a turning point instead of just another sister spat. Later scenes showed Tammy alone, reflecting. And that's where viewers saw a side of her that rarely gets center stage. She admitted she feels like when she grows, she loses people. that every step forward in independence seems to create distance from the people who once defined her life. It wasn't said with anger, it was said with quiet fear. That fear is real. When someone changes their life dramatically, health, confidence, identity, relationships shift, and not everyone adjusts at the same pace. Tammy isn't the same person Amy once helped take care of. She's stronger now, more self-assured, less willing to tolerate emotional chaos. But growth, even positive growth, can feel like rejection to someone who's already overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Amy was shown venting to another family member, and her side revealed a different kind of pain. She feels like she's drowning. Responsibilities, emotions, expectations, and believes Tammy no longer shows up for her the way she once did. In Amy's eyes, Tammy's independence feels like distance, like abandonment in a different form. That's the tragedy of this fight. Both sisters feel left behind. Tammy feels Amy doesn't understand who she's becoming. Amy feels Tammy doesn't see how much she's struggling. And when two people are hurting at the same time, empathy gets replaced by defense. Listening gets replaced by proving your point. Love gets buried under pride. But the social media block added another layer of modern heartbreak. For these two, online connection has always mirrored real-life closeness. They built their journey publicly together, shared jokes, memories, milestones. To cut that off isn't just digital. It's symbolic. It says, I don't want to see your life right now. That's emotional distance in its most visible form. Fans noticed Tammy didn't lash out publicly after the episode aired. No dramatic posts, no retaliation, just quiet. And sometimes, quiet speaks louder than rage. It suggests someone is processing something that hurt deeper than they want to admit. Amy, on the other hand, looked emotionally drained rather than angry in post-episode clips. That's the face of someone who exploded because they had nothing left in the tank. Not someone who truly wants to erase a sister from existence. But words said in emotional burnout still leave scars. Longtime viewers of 1,000-Pound Sister know these two have survived screaming matches before, but this fight wasn't loud in the same way. It was heavier, slower, final sounding. There was no immediate hug, no sarcastic joke to cut tension, no shared eye roll that signals, we'll be fine. Instead, there was distance. And that's what scared fans the most. Because the core of this show has never just been weight loss. It's been their bond, their ability to fight the world together. Seeing that bond crack makes the entire journey feel uncertain. There's also something else at play here that many viewers are pointing out: identity shift. Amy became a mother. Tammy became independent. Those are life transformations that change how people give and receive support. Amy needs emotional reassurance. Tammy is learning boundaries. Without communication, those needs clash instead of connect. Experts often say family fights aren't about the surface issue. They're about feeling unseen. And episode 4 showed two sisters who love each other deeply, but no longer recognize the version of each other standing in front of them. The saddest part, neither one truly wants to lose the other, but pain can make people say permanent-sounding things in temporary emotional storms. As the episode closed, viewers weren't left with resolution. They were left with uncertainty. And sometimes, that's more heartbreaking than a dramatic blow-up. Because now the question isn't, will they argue again? It's, will they even come back to each other at all? And if there's one thing this season is showing, it's that healing the body was only part of the journey. Healing family wounds may be the harder battle. Because weight can be lost. Confidence can be built. But trust, once cracked, takes time. And humility. To rebuild. And right now on 1,000-Pound Sister, both sisters are standing at a crossroads, waiting to see who will take the first step back toward the bond that once made them unbreakable. 1,000 LB Sisters Amy breaks down after Tammy walks out of their meeting arranged by Andrea to talk things out. Amy Slaton breaks down in tears after Tammy storms out of their tense coffee shop peace talk on 1,000 LB Sisters. The latest episode of 1,000 LB Sisters Season 8 delivered another emotional blow to the Slaton family. Episode 4 of the TLC series, titled Nobody's Butt Monkey, premiered on Tuesday night, January 27th, 2026 at 9 p.m. ET. It combined humor, health scares, and heavy family drama as Amy moved forward with her wedding plans, and Tammy continued to struggle in both her personal growth and her relationship with her sister. The 1000 Elb Sisters episode began lightheartedly with Amy and her fiancé Brian tasting wedding cakes. The tasting briefly turned into a health scare when Amy, who looked flushed and sweaty, grabbed her chest. Chris suspected dumping syndrome, a side effect of weight loss surgery, but Amy recovered after a burp and finished the tasting with her usual charm. Things turned darker once the episode shifted to the strained bond between Amy and Tammy. The two sisters have barely spoken for weeks, and Tammy's girlfriend, Andrea, decided to step in. Her goal was simple: bring the sisters face to face to see if they could talk things out and possibly apologize. But the moment the meeting started, emotions escalated and the situation cracked fast. Andrea arranges a peace meeting, and Tammy walks out feeling disrespected on 1000 LB Sisters Season 8. Andrea invited both women to sit down at a quiet coffee shop and talk in the latest episode of 1000 LB Sisters Season 8. She hoped they could acknowledge their hurt and maybe even rebuild their trust. Instead, the conversation went sideways in just minutes. As the two women tried to communicate, Amy demanded an apology and said she could not easily forgive Tammy for whatever she had said about her. With that, Tammy stood up, walked out, refused to come back inside on Andrea's insistence, and also demanded not to be filmed as she waited in the car. "I think I underestimated how hurt these two are," Andrea tells the cameras. Inside the cafe, Amy also storms off but hits the wall as she says amid the chaos, "I don't know where they're going." Andrea followed behind her, admitting in a confessional, "I don't know either. Oh my god, what the F asterisk. I really tried to get Amy and Tammy back together, but Tammy has already walked out and now Amy's saying she's going to leave too. But she went down the wrong hallway. I didn't even really know where she was going, so I didn't really want to follow her." Amy vented her own hurt. Like, "That's bullshit. I was just trying to talk to you and get you to apologize to me, bro." Andrea asked if they could try to sit back down, but Amy shut down further, saying she didn't want no truce. Andrea defended her attempt, saying, "You know, she came here today to make peace, but..." Amy cut her off again, insisting, "I tried to make peace." Andrea reassured her, I see you try. I see that. Yeah." Amy then admitted what the meeting meant to her emotionally in a confessional in 1000 LB Sisters. Being here today was supposed to be an olive branch, saying, "Hey, just 'cause we're in a fight don't mean I don't love you. Like, I have gave you so much, and I'm nothing to you." Andrea wished Tammy would come back inside, as she said, "I wish she would just come back in, just get it talked out. So, I'll take her drink too. Maybe that'll help." Andrea went outside to the car, hoping to convince Tammy by saying, "I'm sorry, I was talking to Amy." She gently pushed one more time. "Babe, you want to try again?" Tammy refused to go back and repeated, "No, I'm not going back in there, and nobody's going to change my mind." Andrea looked defeated as she admitted, "Right now, I have no idea what to do. I tried to get Tammy to come back in. I knew when I opened the door that she wasn't going to. It's very frustrating, to be honest." Inside, Amy's pain sharpened. Why should I care about her? She cried, and then hit her emotional limit. "And you can tell her I wanted to reconnect if you would just listen. I can't handle her toxic ass no more. I got 2 kids to raise." Andrea nodded. "I know, and you're doing good. You're doing good. I see the videos." Andrea recognized the deep wound between the sisters and tried to reassure Amy, saying, "I know that's gotta be hurtful. I know, it has to be. But I know deep down she doesn't want this to be this way. I know deep down she doesn't." I say, "You miss Amy, don't you?" She says yes. But Amy made it clear that she is done trying and decided to cut off her life completely from Tammy, adding that, "I'm no longer Tammy's butt monkey. I'm not allowing her to use me as a punching bag anymore. Tammy's out of my wedding and my life." Andrea wished for a different outcome, but Amy made herself clear, "You ain't never gonna be back." And then she said something that defined the whole 1000 LB Sisters episode. Tammy and Tammy are dead. The Slaton sisters are dead. 1000 LB Sisters is back for Season 8 on TLC Tuesdays at 9 p.m. ET, packed with laughs, tears, and huge life changes for Amy, Tammy, and the Slatons. Amy is busy with her wedding planning and preparing to tie the knot with Brian in a spooky Halloween-themed celebration and a wild New Orleans bachelorette. Tammy, meanwhile, steps up big-time post-skin removal surgery as she volunteers at an animal shelter, planning to move in with girlfriend Andrea and seizing independence at almost 40. However, family feuds explode as episode 2 of 1000 LB Sisters, titled Not Today Satan, premiered on January 13th, 2026 at 9 p.m. ET, centers on Amy's ongoing tension with her sister Tammy as she breaks down. Family members Misty and Chris intervene and sit down with Amy to check in on her emotional state and push for a family reunion to solve the issues that are affecting everybody. Amy gets emotional over her conflicts with Tammy in 1000 LB Sisters Season 8. Misty and Chris sit down with Amy for a heart-to-heart conversation in 1000 LB Sisters, tired of her recent soft spot and family drama. They inquired about Amy leaving a recent family gathering in a hurry. "You've been kind of soft-hearted here lately," Chris notes. Misty presses on the quick exit. "You left in a hurry on my party, and I personally didn't understand why." Amy expresses her hurt. She said that she dodged Waverly Hills conversation to avoid family opinions, and that she often feels criticized for how she dresses, moves, or talks. "I was trying to get that scared away, like location-wise, because I knew y'all were gonna question me about it. I just got tired of people like bullying me and stuff. And I knew y'all were gonna question me," she admits. Chris tries to reassure her, saying, "All you had to say is to be determined. And as far as us bullying you, we've been joking and cutting up for 45 years the same damn way." As Amy vents and breaks down, Chris further reassures, "Ain't nobody screaming, ain't nobody yelling." He spots her tears, adding in a confessional. The more Amy gets worked up with the waterworks, the less she starts thinking rationally. So sometimes you just gotta take a little bit softer approach. Amy then confesses the strain she feels in her relationship with Tammy. She feels Tammy actively tries to sabotage her and is always nitpicking about her dress and demeanor. Chris and Misty encourage Amy to take a softer approach and emphasize that they are there for her. "In the end, me and Misty's here for you," Chris says. "We're firm believers in tough love, so when we pop off something, we don't have no filter. But regardless, with all the bullshit going on between you and Tammy, we really need to kind of get it smoothed over. Families are supposed to pull together." However, Amy snaps back, asking many more times should she reconcile and give chances to her, adding, "I'm not going to sit here and have you feed me this baloney when I don't like baloney," and further vents her frustration about the efforts she made to not upset her. "I purposely go out of my way not to upset her. I don't talk until she talks to me first. I try not to move. I try not to wear something that she can make fun of me for." Chris calls it both ways, suggesting that goes both ways, as Amy hasn't been perfect either, while Amy reflects on her own growth and determination to move forward. "When she has asked me to stop, Chris, I'm trying to move on and learn from my mistakes. I'm getting my shit together. I'm becoming a fucking adult for once." Chris and Misty then push for a possible reconciliation, asking if Amy would be open to bringing the whole family together to squash all the bullsh. As there is silence in the 1000 LB Sisters scene, Chris notes in a confessional, if they don't get past it, it's not going to affect just Tammy and Amy. It'll affect everybody in the family. Season 8 of 1000 Pound Sister wasn't just emotional. It was breaking Amy Slaton. Under family pressure, losing time with her children, and pushed beyond her limits, Amy is now considering walking away from the show forever. This is the story no one was supposed to see. For nearly a decade, Amy Slaton has lived her life in front of an audience. What began as a raw, unfiltered look into two sisters battling obesity, poverty, and personal demons eventually evolved into one of reality television's most recognizable franchises. But as Sister enters its 8th season, the story behind the cameras has grown far darker than what viewers see on screen. According to interviews, on-set sources, and conversations with individuals close to the production, Amy Slaton is facing what many now describe as the most devastating period of her life. More alarming still, she is reportedly considering a decision that could permanently alter the future of the series, stepping away from the show entirely and refusing to continue working under the weight of constant pressure. This is not a dramatic publicity stunt. It is not a temporary pause. Insiders say this is the result of years of emotional strain finally reaching a breaking point. A season marketed as growth, but defined by strain. Season 8 of 1,000-Pound Sister was introduced as a turning point. Tammy's transformation, new family dynamics, and personal reinvention were meant to signal progress, but behind the scenes, Amy's experience moved in the opposite direction. Viewers have noticed the shift. Amy appears quieter, less engaged. Her reactions feel restrained, sometimes distant. Her humor, once central to her screen presence, appears forced or absent. According to multiple sources, this is not an act. It is exhaustion. Those close to the production describe a woman emotionally depleted by the demands of filming and the expectations placed upon her. Amy has reportedly expressed that the show no longer feels like an opportunity, but an obligation she is struggling to survive. The pressure that never turns off. In a recent interview, Amy admitted she feels overwhelmed by pressure. A statement that barely scratches the surface of what insiders describe. That pressure comes from every direction. Family, producers, audience expectations, and the internal weight of being perceived as the strong one for years. Family members, sources say, often expect Amy to remain functional regardless of her emotional state. When she struggles, the response is not rest or support, but urgency. Scenes still need to be filmed, conversations still need to happen, stories still need to move forward, so. Production insiders describe a relentless schedule that leaves little room for recovery. Emotional moments are revisited repeatedly. Conflicts are prolonged. Vulnerability is captured, replayed, and dissected. Amy reportedly feels she has lost control over how her life is portrayed. What she experiences privately becomes public consumption, often without her consent or emotional readiness. A family dynamic that has turned inward. The Slaton family has always been portrayed as chaotic but united. In reality, sources say that unity has fractured. Amy reportedly feels caught in the middle of family expectations and personal limits she is no longer able to meet. What once felt like mutual dependence now feels like constant demand. Amy has allegedly told people close to her that she feels more like a responsibility manager than a sister, daughter, or individual. This dynamic has intensified as the show has continued. With every season, emotional stakes increase, conflicts escalate, privacy disappears. Amy's role in the family, once defined by caregiving and emotional labor, has become a source of resentment and burnout. Insiders say she feels taken for granted, expected to absorb stress without complaint. The deterioration of the sister bond. Perhaps the most painful development is the breakdown of Amy's relationship with Tammy. For years, their bond defined 1,000-pound sister. They were inseparable in struggle, locked in a cycle of dependence and survival. But Season 8 reveals a shift that insiders say has been building for years. Tammy's physical and emotional progress has altered the balance between them. While publicly celebrated, that progress has quietly left Amy without a role she spent years occupying. She is no longer the caretaker, no longer the anchor. And according to sources, she does not feel replaced. She feels erased. Arguments between the sisters reportedly extend beyond what viewers see. Off-camera tensions, unresolved resentment, and emotional distance have grown more frequent. Amy reportedly feels her pain is now minimized, especially when compared to Tammy's success narrative. The emotional cost of this shift cannot be overstated. Amy once centered her identity around being needed. Losing that role has left her questioning her value, both within her family and within the show. Motherhood under relentless scrutiny. Amy's children were meant to represent a new beginning. Instead, motherhood has become another source of guilt and emotional strain. In interviews, Amy has admitted she struggles to spend meaningful time with her children. Sources say filming schedules, emotional exhaustion, and constant obligations leave her feeling disconnected from the role she values most. What makes this especially painful is the lack of separation between personal life and production. Parenting struggles are not private moments. They are filmed, discussed, and analyzed. Amy has reportedly expressed fear that her children will one day watch her worst moments on television. That fear, insiders say, has deeply affected her mental health. Signs of withdrawal on set. By mid-season, production members noticed a shift. Amy began limiting conversations. She avoided extended filming days. Her participation became minimal. Sources describe frequent moments where Amy appeared emotionally shut down. She was present physically, but absent emotionally. A coping mechanism, according to those close to her. Off-camera, insiders report breakdowns, isolation, and repeated discussions about leaving the show. These conversations were not impulsive. They were quiet, serious, and persistent. Amy has reportedly told friends that she feels trapped between financial stability and emotional survival. The decision taking shape. As filming continued, the idea of stepping away became more concrete. According to sources, Amy began questioning whether any amount of fame or income justified the emotional damage she was experiencing. TLC has not publicly addressed these claims, but insiders say there is growing concern behind the scenes. Losing Amy would fundamentally alter 1,000-Pound Sister. She is not just a cast member. She is part of the show's emotional foundation. But for Amy, the calculation appears personal, not professional. Season the 8th of May ultimately be remembered not as a triumph, but as the moment when the cost of living publicly became unbearable. And this is only the first chapter. By the time cameras were deep into Season 8 of 1,000-Pound Sister, Amy Slaton's struggle was no longer confined to family conflict or personal exhaustion. According to multiple individuals familiar with the production, a second, more invisible force had begun shaping her decline: the machinery of reality television itself. What viewers saw as isolated emotional moments were, insiders say, part of a broader pattern of pressure, repetition, and narrative control that left Amy feeling stripped of autonomy over her own life. When reality becomes a product. Reality television depends on conflict, vulnerability, and escalation. For years, Amy willingly participated in that system. She understood the format, accepted the compromises, and believed the exposure was worth the opportunity it gave her family. But sources say Season 8 marked a turning point. According to production insiders, Amy increasingly resisted revisiting emotionally painful topics on camera. Conversations about family tension, motherhood stress, and her deteriorating relationship with Tammy were not one-time discussions. They were revisited repeatedly, often from different angles, until producers felt they had enough material. This repetition, sources say, became emotionally destabilizing. Scenes that appeared spontaneous were often filmed multiple times. Emotional reactions were revisited days later. Conflicts that Amy believed were resolved were reopened for clarity, emphasis, or narrative continuity. She never got to move on. One source familiar with filming said, every time she started to stabilize, the story pulled her back into the same pain. Selective editing and the loss of control. One of the most damaging elements for Amy, according to those close to her, was the realization that she no longer controlled how her emotions were presented. Reality television editing condenses hours of footage into minutes. Nuance disappears, context fades. What remains is what fits the episode's arc. Sources claim Amy became increasingly distressed watching episodes air, feeling that her emotional reactions were presented without sufficient context. Moments of frustration appeared without the exhaustion that preceded them. Tears were shown without the conversations that led to them. Amy reportedly expressed concern that she was being framed as unstable or disengaged rather than overwhelmed. She felt like the audience was seeing her worst moments without seeing why she got there, a source said, and once that image is out there, you can't take it back. These concerns, insiders say, were raised privately but rarely resolved to her satisfaction. The needs of storytelling consistently outweighed personal discomfort. The divorce that accelerated everything. Amy's personal life outside of filming was already unraveling. her divorce, though handled quietly on screen, had a profound impact behind the scenes. Sources close to Amy say the emotional fallout was far greater than viewers realized. Single motherhood, financial stress, and public scrutiny converged at the same time filming demands intensified. According to insiders, Amy felt there was little room to process the end of her marriage privately. Questions, speculation, and subtle references continued even when she attempted to keep that chapter separate from the show. The divorce also altered how Amy perceived her role within the family. Without a partner to share emotional and logistical responsibilities, the weight of